everybody. It's Valerie again with the US-Canada portion of Meant to Be Well. And I am here with my friend, Krista Dykes. Krista is amazing. She is the 11th incredible speaker here today on day 2. And continuing this mom theme that we've had for the past couple of speakers, I really wanted Krista to talk with us today because she's doing such incredible work for moms and has an amazing podcast. So let me tell you some more about her and what she's going to talk about, and then I'm going to give Krista the floor. So Krista Dykes is joining us from Nashville, Tennessee in the United States. Krista Dykes transitioned from her music industry media relations role to a full-time mompreneur with the official launch of her Secret Mom Hacks podcast on March 1st, 2023. She curates the MomCom Database, the first ever national database of mom communities. Dykes is also the founder of Mom Boss Mastermind, a free virtual networking group for mompreneurs. She is a 2005 Firo Pi Gold Award winner in Persuasive Speaking, Communication Analysis, and Poetry Interpretation. She has worked on award-winning communication projects and campaigns in the online insurance lead space and country music industry. And she's going to be speaking with us today about the power of your tribe, finding connection and building community. So thank you so much for being with us today, Krista.
Thank you, Valerie, for having me. I'm excited about our conversation this afternoon.
Me too. And we were going to be twins. I was literally going to wear the same shirt that Krista is wearing right now, but I decided to, I don't know. I've been moving around, doing some exercises, getting all hot up here because I just keep going from one speaker to the next.
But you needed more movement, ability for more movement. I get it.
But tell us about your incredible podcast and the incredible database that you also just started as well. I'd love to hear more about it.
Yes, I started my podcast, Secret Mom Hacks, actually before March 1st, 2023. The first couple of episodes rolled out. Yeah, my official launch was March 1st of last year. But the first few episodes rolled out very shortly after I had my daughter. I just had all of these things that had happened during my pregnancy, shortly after childbirth, with breastfeeding. I was just facing all of these obstacles that I thought, I knew nothing about this. This was not in my birthing classes. This was not on any of the prep details that I read going into this mom life thing. And that's okay. Here we are happily on the other side. And you know what? A lot of people say ignorance is bliss. So maybe that's right. But I felt compelled to share those experiences too, because I thought surely this can't only be happening to me. So I wanted to share my stories, get them out there, share some of the resources that worked for me and that didn't, to A, know that I'm not crazy, and B, to help other parents know that whatever you're navigating, you might feel like you're on an island like I did, and it can be very lonely and very scary and concerning. And so I started Secret Mom Hacks as that way to just assuage that, I guess you would say. And then with the MomCom Database, I started that just a couple of months ago via some emotions and feelings I was having around the media advisory that the U.S. Surgeon General had released, stating that America had a loneliness epidemic.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, well, that's weird. I mean, am I lonely? And it was one of those things where I just thought, I'm not sure what to do with that. I'm seeing these statistics, and this is the Surgeon General. They wouldn't put this out if there wasn't some credibility behind it, right? So as I started kind of peeling back the onion further, I was like, whoa, this is wild that having prolonged amounts of social isolation can actually have physical and mental impacts to the point of like smoking 15 cigarettes a day, I think was one of the statistics, that prolonged lack of connection, isolation and so on. And that was staggering to me. And in particular, they actually released an additional study that had to do with moms being lonely. So there was this initial study about loneliness, and then there was that came out a couple of years ago. Then there was a second one that came out specifically about moms earlier this year. And that's when I thought, okay, I've got to dive into this a little deeper. What can I do to be a part of the solution? Me personally, I didn't, I kind of thought, I make connections. I make connections, right? I talk with my neighbor down the street. I'm friendly with the person at the grocery store. When I check out, with all of my items, I, interact with friends from college or high school on social media. And then I got to thinking, but when I'm dealing with an issue, an obstacle, or I want to celebrate something, who am I calling? Who are those connections? I'm not doing that with the random neighbor I see in the neighborhood. I'm not doing that with the person at the grocery store. Who are those key people in my life? And that was really when I was like, I need to continue cultivating those friendships. This study made me realize the importance of those friendships, and me making a more concerted effort to continue to cultivate those friendships, maybe finding some others around some hobbies that you and I are runners. So finding that running community, running moms and so on. And so anyway, but that's what I was doing personally. And I thought, well, what can I do with this globally? What can I do with this? There are moms who maybe they don't have the same personality or interest to connect or ease of connecting. I can talk to a fence post, Valerie, just to be quite honest. I know that's not easy for everyone, right? So what can I do for the parent who is craving that connection and maybe doesn't have the same outlets or personality as I do? And I got to thinking, well, maybe a huge barrier to finding connection is just knowing where people are, right? Knowing where people who have similar interests are. And so the long and short of it, that study was the inspiration to me starting this MomCom database so that I can help to equip other moms finding community in their area and or around an interest that they have. So the MomCom database includes local groups, wherever you are locally in your town or region or what have you. It also includes online groups. So, I'm being a podcaster. I'm a part of a podcasting moms group, which is awesome. And I've really enjoyed cultivating the connections out of that group. But I'm also a part of this local mom walking group here, where I live. And so the MomCom database is listing those groups based on location, whether they're online, and also including the topics of those groups. Because you know what? I have a 6-year-old now, but when she was first newborn and I was figuring out breastfeeding, I wish I would have known about a local breastfeeding group. So while I don't need that now, there may be a mom in this area or in a different area who would find use of an online breastfeeding group, and so on. I mean, the topics range the gamut of even empty nesters. So from the pregnancy journey all the way through to when you send your kiddo off to whatever their next step is, 18 and beyond, this MomCom database has a group for you wherever you are on that parenting journey.
I love that. And that is just so important. Now, Krista, where can we find this database? Is it on your website, Secret Mom Hacks?
It is. You can go to secretmomhacks.com and just click there's a tab in the header that says community. So just click community, and it's a free database. All you have to do is just put in your email address and you'll be redirected to the database.
That's great. That's great. And we have a comment here. Barb, she's saying that, for autistic children, she's a mom of autistic child. That's an incredible, we need more resources for moms. I know Lori Moser yesterday was talking about teens and resources for teens. Nancy Gillette was talking earlier about parenting with neurodivergence, autism, and the importance of groups like this. Is there also like some groups for neurodivergent, autistic
Yes, in fact, I believe there are at least 2 on there,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
I think one of them is online.
Mhm.
So I've included a link in the database where if you are in a group that is awesome that other parents need to know about, you can submit a form and I can then add it to the database. Sharing is caring.
Yeah,
So if there's an awesome group that should be on there, then please submit that form and I'll be happy to add it as a resource for other parents.
I love that. I was just about to ask that because there are so many groups out there, and just spreading the word, I think, is so, so important. And, you think about like almost like having this database would be amazing, like with schools, with at doctors' offices, where moms hang out, because we need these. And I think that just that lonely epidemic is so, so important. And the fact that the U.S. Surgeon General has released that statement, like you're saying, is so eye opening. And it makes me think of like the study that, like the Harvard study that's been going on since I think it was 1938. And it's multiple generations from now. But they started it by asking the question of what is the happy life? What is the good life? And time and time again, despite genetics, despite socioeconomic status, despite anything, it keeps being proven that it's relationships is what makes the good life. And there's an incredible TED talk on that. But I just, it's so important. It's so important. And I think that what you're doing is incredible, as well as having that podcast. And I love the way you talk on your podcast. Like I talked with Gretchen yesterday with the SH exclamation mark T that goes on in our heads. But podcasts like this, and Mariella, I was talking to earlier, they make me feel like I'm listening to a friend, because I am. I'm listening to a friend, and I feel less alone. And that's so important too.
Thank you. I'm so happy to hear that. And that's certainly my goal is to make that's what I want the audience to feel
Yeah.
like, because I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a nurse. There's a lot I don't know. I am a mom that has gone through a lot. So I feel compelled to share my experiences and again, what's worked, what hasn't, because something that doesn't work for me, I'll talk about it. And again, in as much of a neutral tone as I can, because even something that doesn't work for me, I am happy to mention it because that may work for somebody else, and vice versa. Something that works for me may not work for somebody else. I really try to be clear. At the end of the day, I just want other moms to know they're not alone. We're all in this together. We're in the trenches. We're figuring it out. And my goal is that my podcast can be one of many tools in the tool belt that we all need to and it is a toolbox with lots of other toolboxes in it too, right? Because we're covering the gamut again of mom life, whether it's sleep training or breastfeeding or solid foods or tantrums, what have bullying, all of the things. And then not just the kiddos, finding resources to navigate parenting in general and you know um tan what's the word tangibly, like
Mhm.
help with child rearing, parenting, and so on, but then also the self-care, mental health and wellness side of it, cuz so often when we feel like things are just about to explode, right? It's because we're not taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I always include lots of self-care topics in the podcast because us moms, we're so busy putting out the fires and taking care of everyone else. And a lot of that can be way more manageable when we're under control and we're taken care of too.
Absolutely. I think that's so important. And I love how you talk about that, and all your guests that you have. You talk about a variety of topics. And or your individual episodes. And I remember when we first met, Krista, you were talking about our mutual respect for Gretchen Rubin, and she had, I think it was 23 and 23, and you were doing something similar to that, and kind of going off that idea. Is that right?
Yes. It's funny you mention it because I was thinking about it last night and realizing I was thinking about it last night because I was like, it's almost Halloween. How is it already almost Halloween? I feel like last week we were swimming in the pool and it was 90 degrees outside and we were doing swim lessons, all the things. I feel like I blinked my eye and we went from summer to now truly in the throes of the holiday season.
Yes.
And I haven't done this yet, but shortly after we get off, I'm going to do this because I was thinking about it last night, just remembering, oh, you haven't looked at your 24 and 24 in a while. And December is going to be here before we know it. And what all on that list have I checked off and not even realized it yet? I was doing so good checking that list on the 24th of every month. I have a reminder on my phone that goes off on the 24th of every month that just says review 24 and 24. And you know what? I mean, the 24th is coming up, but the problem is I don't think I've checked it for the last 3 or 4 months on the 24th. I've acknowledged that reminder and then moved on to whatever I was dealing with. But I'm going to look at it tonight to just see what all have I crossed off. What can I get done before the end of the year? And I'm not going to stress about it because, again, we've talked about how these are just kind of some guideposts. And you know what? I might have 24 things on there. And you know what? If out of those 24, if 6 or 8 of them got done, I'll feel good about it because at the end of the day, are the kiddos fed? Our family's happy, right? Like we have a roof over our heads and all is good. But having those guideposts to just say, hey, this was important to you at the beginning of the year, for some things to gravitate towards by the end of the year, where are you on it? So I'm looking forward to reassessing that later on tonight.
Absolutely. It's really wild how fast it all goes, and what I've been trying to do for myself. I was talking yesterday about how I will put my phone away during walks to school. We live pretty close to the school. And so I'll usually pick the kids up, and I purposely don't bring my phone now because I am going to capture at least these 5 minutes while I am walking without the phone. And because it's so fast, and I still am in my head so much of the time, but I feel like that now has become a self-care routine, and I'm able to, see the seasons a bit and appreciate, the trees, what do they look like this week versus another? And it doesn't make time go any slower, but at least being mindful of it has helped me a little bit with that.
Yes. Absolutely. I was doing a training run a couple of days ago because my marathon is coming up soon, Valerie. It's in like 2 weeks.
Oh, are you serious?
I was serious.
Let us know how it goes.
Yes. Well, I will. But I thought it was really interesting in this training run. Coach said, because it was a long run. I'm not even going to tell you what the distance was, but it was a long run. And it was one of those things where you're in that last bit of the run and just talking about keeping your eyes ahead and having neutral thoughts and not casting judgment on your pace, basically being at peace with your pace and peace with the time and not thinking about this is good or bad or anything, just focusing on observing and keeping just that neutral mind and this mind of gratitude of you're running and the sky is blue and the trees are starting to turn and look, there's a butterfly, and not beating yourself up over certain things or trying to be faster or, wishing the sun were out more or wishing the wind would slow down, just having a neutral playing field of your mind and even observing what's around you. And I thought that's so good, because so often you are in your head of like, oh, this just needs to get done. And I wish I were faster. And oh, I just got a text from so and so. And your mind just to where you're in the run physically, but your mind is nowhere
Yes.
in the run or whatever activity, whether it's walking to school or whatever. And so I think that's so important to take that intentional time to just be.
Absolutely. I think that is so important. Your run reminds me, I think we've talked about this, but when I was in Sedona, that's where I like trained. Why I trained for a half marathon because I knew I wanted to go somewhere cool and run. So I'm like, I know I want to check out Sedona, so I'm going to schedule it there. But I do remember when I was running in Sedona, that feeling of just peace and the gratitude that I could move my body on this beautiful planet. And it was an amazing feeling. And it was so simple, but it's so hard sometimes to get to that simplicity of just being. And so it's an important skill to practice, but sometimes so hard to do. And we need reminders of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to just bring it home to the connection and community piece of our conversation, when it comes to cultivating friendships, new relationships, or even building on existing ones, keeping it front of mind to just be and to be authentic and to not feel like, oh, well, I want to have these two people over and like catch up or hear more about X, Y, and Z and like deepen those relationships. But the house is an utter disaster and there's dishes in the sink and I'm not wearing the right shirt and my hair is a mess or whatever. Like the fact of the matter is, if you just go on and do it, that's going to help you build that deeper connection because you're being your authentic self in that moment. And they're going to be able to relate of like, hey, listen, my house is a mess too. And the kids did this. And you know what? That shirt looks amazing. Clearly you're comfortable in it. And that's what matters.
Yeah.
And like, it's okay. It's okay. Don't wait for that right moment because there will never be a right moment. Life is always crazy. You just have to make that decision to just do it, to put yourself out there. Nothing's going to be perfect. And those people are going to, if they are judging you or they are criticizing whatever, then that's a sign that that's not the right person to deepen a relationship with. Thank you for making that decision easier for me, right? Like on to the next. So that's what I would say is to just be yourself, don't stress. And no, too, I'm telling myself this because those are thoughts that go through my head all the time.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We're all working on something. We're all growing. We're all in it together. Oh,
Yes.
I love it, Krista. Well, thank you so much. I feel like I can talk with you all day. I love talking with you.
I feel the same. Thanks,
Yes,
Valerie.
absolutely. Well, as we wrap up here, can you share with us one more time where we can find you? I have it scrolling down, secretmomhacks.com. But let us know again, how we get to your mom database and anything else you would like us to know before we wrap up.
Absolutely. Everything is on secretmomhacks.com. You can access that database by clicking community at the top of the website. You can find my podcast across all of the platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, et cetera, et cetera. It is all out there across the board. And that's really the best way to get in touch with me is through my website, as well as across socials. You can find me at Secret Mom Hacks. That's my handle everywhere too. But I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And I look forward to connecting with more of the folks who jumped on today as well.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for making comments. We truly appreciate the community. And thank you again, Krista. I hope you have a lovely evening. And I hope everyone listening either to this live or to the replay later on does as well.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.